And we are live. You've probably watched part 1 and part 2 by now.
Yes.
Before we finish up part 3, which I'm really excited about, so I don't want to make sure I don't talk too fast, let's give ourselves a bit of feedback and criticism. How have we done? We've had some really nice comments, but I think sometimes people are a bit reluctant to give constructive criticism because they think they're going to offend us. Do you remember what the outcomes were when we started this?
Well, the overall outcome, isn't it, is to help people and provide them with the correct information for them to get great results via mindset and science behind calories and stuff, and to provide our members and other people with a service. Yeah.
So I think about, okay, let's go right back to why are we doing this? What was the outcome? And I think we both recognise, listen, there's a huge proportion of people that struggle with weight gain, weight loss, whatever you want to call it. And what we were hoping to do was to give a really holistic, all singing, all dancing, cover all the bases type advice. We never imagined it was going to take us 3 parts.
I know.
And full disclosure, this is the second time that we've recorded part 3 because Leanne kept burping on the audio of the first one, and we had to redo it. So full disclosure, obviously we're new to this project in terms of releasing podcasts or making videos. So I think it would be true to say, we're not going to be perfect or experts from day one.
No.
I watched a little bit of part 1 and part 2. I'm sure we've done okay. I'm sure there's some things we could do better. What I wanted to do in part 3, and I've kept my agenda and my plan kind of quite short.
Okay.
Because I think my experience just from the first 2 and then from what we did with Dodge on Sunday is it's very easy to drift.
Yeah.
And what I worry about is if the people that are watching, maybe because we drift very innocently, they're going to miss out on one of the key components. So what I've done for today's agenda is I've thought, okay, I want to really dial into some of the core bits. So for example, I want to talk about the type of training that they should be doing. The most efficient, the most effective. We're going to do that. I've talked about these questions and internal language in both the episodes. I want to make sure I give some information on that. I also want to make sure that we finish with big picture advice, where the people that hopefully will watch part 1, part 2, hopefully we pull it all together and say, if you're someone that's in this position, do this. Okay, that's what I'd like. And we've got a few other things. Anything that you want to add to that? I know you've got your agenda here.
I have, So I've just written down some notes just to break down some things a little bit more simply for people. I think people totally underrate things like recovery and sleep and rest. Training is massive because, for me, I see it all the time when the gym was open. Obviously, like I would see people come in the gym and obviously have a chat with them. What are you training today? Cardio and abs, cardio and abs, cardio and abs. Yeah. And like a little bit of me dies inside and I'm like, right, okay. Yeah, sure. We need to show people how to properly train for weight loss.
Do you know what? I think that might be, of all the things that we could talk about today, if we can do a good job on that topic, if we could find a way to explain to people that you have to lift weights, not just to be lean, but for a multitude of other reasons, such as anti-aging, such as your mental health. Yeah. And when people say, why do I need to lift weights? I think, and I'm getting ahead of myself, the way that society's changed and the way that our jobs now and our day-to-day lives have such little resistance and such little manual activity means that if you compare us with 50 years, 100 years, 200 years ago, there is a huge difference. We don't even get up to change the TV now or to answer the phone.
Do everything, don't
exactly.
They? Yeah.
And that is placing an even bigger emphasis on the need for resistance. Anyway, let's not jump ahead too far.
We get excited.
Yeah, I am mega excited about this because I really hope, go back to what's my mission, what's the reason I started Winners 2000. Well, because I wanted this community to be better for my work, and all of my goals in the future are about, doing even more. And I've got some very big and elaborate plans for the next sort of 15, 20 years of things and particular populations and groups I'd like to help. So I hope we can do a good job of it. But it wouldn't be one of our shows without first checking in. Have you gotten me in any trouble? Have you been diving in any bushes? Have you been swearing on a golf course?
No, I haven't.
I think we should start like a TV show, Leanne's Week or something.
Let's see how many councils in the UK I can upset. I've not weed anywhere. I've not been to golf. I've not been able to train anyone because it's soaking wet up the field today. But I'm just doing my online Zumba and my 8-week challenge, which has 85 ladies in it.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. Yeah, that's amazing how that's grown.
Yeah.
What about your own training? Because we're going to start talking about you in a minute. What about your own training? How's training, right?
Yeah, good. So yesterday I did sprints and I am so tight, my glutes. And also those kettlebell squats with the pauses and the bands. My quads were like going to explode.
On those pauses, sometimes what people will do is they'll go to a depth where you can lose it.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have to find the kind of optimum height and optimum range.
Yeah.
Sometimes people kind of just don't get them at all, but yeah, you're enjoying them.
Yeah, they burn so bad. And that little circuit I was doing, which was...
There's a video of those on Amy's Insta for anyone that wants to watch it. Yeah.
The circuit of the incline push-ups into single arm kettlebell row and swings.
Yeah.
I was doing that. I had like the old school R&B in the background, so in between in my rest I was doing a little dance, and I turned around and the delivery man was at the back door and saw me. So
when you say old school R&B, what year would that be, Leanne?
Like 1990 something, like Timbaland, Nelly Furtado type thing.
What is wrong with the 90s? The 90s were, the 80s were an even better era for music. Trust me on that. That was the best.
What, like Wham?
Wham, Spandau Ballet, Depeche Mode. I mean, keep going. Madonna, Phil Collins.
Gold, always believe in your soul.
I'm not doing a titty shake on TV. I don't know what you do. You spoke to me last week about an elimination diet.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to start today's show, and I said to you, let's chat about it on camera.
Yes.
So, and I've got to be really careful here. In my show notes, I thought to myself, I need to be really careful about how I talk about elimination diet.
Okay.
Because I believe in it very, very strongly.
Yeah.
But it might be one of those points where I'm crossing a bit of a boundary between, I said I'd only talk about things that were scientifically evidenced and proven and that was qualified in to do. When I start talking about elimination diets, I might cross over. The other thing is I said my number one rule was I can do this.
Yeah.
Why do I never recommend elimination diets? Because if I recommend it to people, they say, I can't do this.
Yeah.
This guy's an alien. I don't want to live like a monk.
Yeah.
So we talked about elimination diet.
Yes.
Better fill people in. What were we talking about?
So we were talking about basically eliminating a lot of different food groups because you can be sensitive to them and they can produce negative outcomes. And I asked you about it because obviously I have spoken about this before, but I get really bad spouts of acne, especially. I don't know if you can see, but I have it really bad around my chin.
Sure.
And it gets really, really sore and painful. And then when I get it, I then get loads of cold sores as well. So
Sure.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about it really because I wanted to see if maybe it was a good idea for me to do the elimination diet to see if there was a food group that was triggering my skin condition. Because I have spent hundreds of pounds on skincare regimes and treatments and stuff.
So
and
do I, Leanne. Tons on that.
It's not getting better, and I'm 32, not 13. So
so I want to be really careful with this because this is something I'm very passionate about. And if anyone knows me, has ever worked with me, you know my background is in holistic medicine, natural medicine. I'm such a huge believer, and I've done some things with people over the last 20 years. And again, I want to be a bit careful about some of those things that I say because I could say, I fixed someone and she got pregnant. Well, it might have been the work I did, or it might have been something else.
Yeah.
So an elimination diet to me is something where you basically remove anything that could be an irritant. Ever since I've been sort of studying natural medicine, there are a number of things that come up very frequently that cause people problems.
Yeah.
Wheat, refined wheat is the number one. There's a very good book called Wheat Belly, which I will actually again put in the show notes so people can read that book. Dairy flags incredibly frequently. You wouldn't believe it. Tap water. So tap water is unfortunately full of a lot of things they put into it to keep the pipes clean, which aren't particularly good for us. And again, have to be careful because there's some science on this and there is some. For example, there's a lot of studies about estrogens in tap water.
Okay.
There's a lot of studies about fluoride in tap water and the dangers of fluoride. Okay. Refined sugars. Okay. So refined sugars are another one that, if you ask me, we could solve a huge amount of problems just by saying to people, do not eat refined sugars.
Yeah.
And when you say these things and people listen and think, how the hell am I supposed to eat without? It's actually a lot easier than you think.
Yeah.
Okay, and the last one is yeast. So those 5 things, if I work with somebody, those 5 things coming out of their diet completely is what I call the elimination diet. Why do I never recommend it and why do I never push it on people? Because it breaks my golden rule, which is I can do this.
Yeah.
If I say to the guy who was 30 stone who I referenced, who I met in Newton Abbott 10 years ago, do the elimination diet, he just turns around and walks out of the gym.
Yeah, definitely.
Adherence is when you're working with something, you need adherence to something, and you have to be realistic about what they can adhere to. What has tended to happen with me, with people I've worked with, is I've reached a point with them where they've asked me about the elimination diet rather than me telling them to do it.
Yeah.
How do people get there? Back to the fluff of ask a better question. What's my purpose? What are my goals? I think I said in episode 2, my aim is to get somebody to a point where their food choices are all about the things they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
For example, I have a huge presentation at work tomorrow morning. I want to feel really good. So for dinner tonight, I'm going to make sure I eat steak and veg and my blueberries. When I wake up in the morning, I'll have my eggs.
Yeah.
So I want people to make that association between what I'm eating and how I perform, and then how happy they are. So typically what happens to me with a lot of athletes is I'll meet them, we'll talk about training, we'll fix the training, we'll fix the recovery, we'll talk a little bit about nutrition, and I almost leave them to their own devices because I want them to come and ask me. Within about 3 or 4 months, a lot of the athletes that I've worked with, some of which have records like they've played the most minutes of football, never been injured, etc., which makes me very proud, are on what I call the elimination diet.
Yeah.
They do not eat any wheat at all, and wheat's in everything. Yeah. They do not eat any yeast. Dairy is, sometimes some people are good with dairy and certain types of dairy, and sometimes some aren't at all.
So can you eat dairy-free products?
I would say it's very, very individual. Very, very individual. So for example, some people do terribly on processed cow's milk, but they're okay with goat's milk, or say like the Green Life Green Top, or they're okay on say rice milk and stuff like this. So I would say it is an individual thing. The other thing with dairy is that it's one of the things you tend to find when you do take it out and you put it back in small amounts, people tend to be okay with it. And again, it's a bit of a generalization, and I have to be careful because I'm definitely not qualified to sort of say that. I remember having a discussion with a dietitian. I thought about this, I think it was 2002 or 3, back in my Torquay gym, and she was actually saying to me, you shouldn't be talking about these things. There's no evidence to support this. She actually had a bit of a, what's the correct phrase? She wasn't particularly happy because she was advising a young girl whose mum was a member, and she told this girl's diet was cereal for breakfast, sandwich for lunch, jacket potato for dinner. And this girl was overweight. And I'd said to the mum, that's crazy. Like, what on earth is this about? So this is where the sort of the problem would come from. And I'd advised about more proteins and more fats. And I'd also advised her to eliminate some things. So I've got to be a little bit careful because some people will say, oh, you should never be eliminating dairy, you should never be eliminating. I want to be really clear about that. I'm definitely not qualified to give that advice. This is very much a personal opinion.
Based on experience.
Exactly. If you asked me, do I believe that everybody would be better living in a relationship? Yes, I do. Do I believe that everyone's going to want to do it? No, I don't.
And just to be clear, it's also more of a health thing rather than
100%
a weight loss thing. It's not like
this is not a weight loss thing.
It's nothing to do with weight loss, is it? It's about eliminating food that has a detrimental effect on.
100%. Will you lose weight doing an elimination diet? Yes. Why? Because your hormones will be much better. Your digestive system will be much better. You'll sleep much better. We haven't got into the endocrine system because that's way too geeky. Unless you control insulin and cortisol, forget it. You could add adrenaline to that, okay? Which is why the psychology is so important. If you're a very nervous, anxious, worried person, naturally your adrenaline and your cortisol will be through the roof. You will never lose body fat like that, okay? If your insulin is mega, mega high, forget it, all right? When you follow an elimination diet, you tend to find all of those things start to come down for various reasons. So how do people typically do the elimination diet? They take all of those foods out. And initially they're a bit like, oh my God, how am I going to eat? It's mega easy. It's mega easy. You sort of go back to basics and then you sort of rebuild from there. How do I typically encourage people to do it? I say, try to get through 28 days without ingesting any of those foods.
I start on Monday.
Yeah. Go 28 days. And then what you can do at that point to prove to yourself is on day 29, you can take in one of the groups again. So for example, what do people typically do? They take in wheat.
Yeah.
And do you know what normally happens?
They feel like crap.
Some of the symptoms you normally get are a headache, stuffy nose and bloating.
Yeah.
And I say to them, probably wheat's not for you. And they go, probably wheat's not for me. And then maybe
they would remove it again.
Yeah. And then they maybe would wait 7 days, and then they would try some dairy, and
Okay.
then wait 7 days and maybe try some yeast, or et cetera, et cetera. That's typically how you do it, and you just see how your body reacts to it. Does that mean you can never eat those foods ever again? No, it doesn't. Does it mean that you probably have to be a bit careful about how much of those foods you eat? Yes, it does.
Yeah.
I try and use the analogy of a pint glass that has a tiny hole in the bottom.
Yeah.
And if you fill that with wheat and it stays maybe half full, you'll probably never know about it.
Yeah.
It's not optimum, but you won't know about
Okay.
it. If you pour a ton in and it goes over the top,
Yeah.
you will really know about it. So I just thought, as you'd asked me about the elimination
Yeah.
diet, am I a huge proponent of it? Yes, 100%. Am I really qualified and stuff, all that? We've already said that. I probably shouldn't recommend it, but I believe in it
Yeah.
very, very, very strongly. What are the types of things that I have fixed, or that I could claim to have fixed? Because I've got to be careful. Eczema.
Yep.
How many people's eczema have I fixed with elimination diet? There's someone that works at Winners 2000 who a few years ago had a lovely baby and said to me when the baby was about 4 weeks old, my baby's got terrible, terrible skin irritation.
Yep.
Bright red. The doctors don't know what to do. They're going to give this baby some steroid cream. I'm not going to mention any names, of course. Not going to mention any steroid cream. I said, are you breastfeeding? Yeah, we are. How's your wife's diet? Terrible. She eats a lot of sweets. Okay. Right. 2 and 2 equals 4.
Yeah.
Your baby's struggling with sugar. Oh, no, it can't be that. So in this case, what I actually did was, out the goodness of his heart, my naturopath said, sure, of course I'll see the guy. No problem at all. So it took about 30 seconds by the time they walked in from an naturopath to say to him, you
Yeah.
need to change your diet. So the mum stopped eating the sugar. The baby's skin was better within 2 days. Simple.
There you go.
Okay. And people say, oh, that's bloody rubbish. Now, you can give the baby a steroid cream, or you can just take the sugar out. That's up to
Yeah.
you. Eczema is very commonly dairy and wheat. Okay. Asthma is very, very commonly wheat and dairy. That's another one. Some of the other ones where I need to be a little bit more careful is there is now starting to be this huge connection between gut health and people's mental health, because a huge amount of serotonin is produced in the gut. Okay, but I've got to be a little bit careful because this is a sensitive subject. Wheat does terrible things to the gut. So I actually think the elimination diet would, or may, help people that have suffered with anxiety, depression. You know, I'm not saying it's going to fix everybody. Please don't think I'm saying that. I think it'd be a really good place to start, and would be to take those foods out. So they're the types of things. I actually have had 2 ladies who came to me. One had horrendous candida, which is on my list to talk about that we're not going to get round to because it's not one of the big rocks today. Had horrendous candida problems that she'd seen 3 or 4 people.
Yeah. So
couldn't fix.
when you say candida, you're talking.
Candida is basically what they call gust dysbiosis. So it's kind of like an overgrowth of like a yeast in the gut. It's a very opportunistic, and sometimes when people go through emotional trauma, candida can really overgrow. People think you can kill it off with nystatin or caprylic acid. It doesn't really work that way. Killing candida is easy. Repopulating the gut is far more in-depth, okay?
Yeah.
So I had a woman who'd had terrible candida problems and couldn't get pregnant. I had another woman who'd been infertile for a long time. Both used the elimination diet, both got pregnant within a year. One was 42. Okay, did I get them? No, not saying that.
No, you definitely didn't get pregnant.
No. But by having really solid nutritional principles, they were able to restore or rebuild their health, and their endocrine system was able to function at a point where they could get pregnant, both have babies, which is exactly what they wanted. I want to make sure I back this up a little bit. There's a very, very famous book called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration by Dr. Weston Price, first published in 1940.
Wow.
No one ever reads it because it's really, really long. I've read it about 10 times, okay? If I want to talk to people about nutrition and they haven't kind of been through that type of book, I find it difficult. The book basically talks about studying populations all around the world.
Yeah.
People that were in the Amazon rainforest, people that were living kind of never met people before and were ultra healthy. The principle of the book is that when you don't have kind of Western sugars and all these bits and pieces. Processed foods. That's the whole principle of the book. That people don't really have any ill health.
Yeah.
And when they eat, as we talked about biochemical individuality, based on where they're from, they're fine. He talks a lot about their jaws and about how nice their teeth were. Never used fluoride toothpaste in their life, of course, 100 years ago almost. So if anybody's really interested in the principles of kind of why they should eliminate some foods, and again, they should all make their own choices, I would 100% recommend it. Then that would be the place I would start. A very, very good book called Nutrition and Physical Degeneration. It's in the show notes. There are some other phenomenal texts The Maker's Diet by a guy called Dr. Jordan Rubin, Patient Heal Thyself, again by Dr. Jordan Rubin. They're two books that talk a lot about the gut connection with the brain, enteric nervous system. And as I say, my guess is over the next 20 years, we're going to see more research about maybe if we took some of these foods out, maybe people's mental health might improve a little bit.
It's mad, isn't it?
How do you feel about doing this is the danger of hanging around with me. You're going to become a monk. Are you going to start quoting Bible verses?
No, definitely not.
Not to Johnny, you won't like that.
I'm a little bit nervous because I want to get it right.
Sure.
But I'm excited to see how my health and my face and that will progress. I've also had digestive issues before. Obviously, we've mentioned before that I had my blood work done, and that was a massive flag that came up, and I had spent a period of time on digestive enzymes and stuff like that. So I'm definitely. I love dairy. I eat a lot of dairy. I eat yogurt.
And there's nothing to say that you might not be. We might have tested you for dairy the other day. Not that we should talk about that, but maybe if we did and it popped pretty significantly.
Yes.
But you admit that you eat it frequently.
Yeah, a lot. So I drink tea all day. So
it might not be a terrible thing long term. Just like I said, when I pop for salmon, well, that's because I pretty much live off salmon, or I did live off salmon and avocado. Yeah. So it might not be, that dairy's a killer for you. I think it might be a really good thing for your followers and for the people that you work with to see you experience it.
Definitely.
You might get a few cravings, but you can still eat so many foods.
Yeah.
So it might not be as bad as you think.
Here we go. Monday.
Yeah. Cool.
I'll document it.
Yeah. So there's the elimination diet. We should obviously do a bit of work on that. So we should actually get into the show now.
Yes. Yeah? Moving forward.
That's an hour. I think the first thing we should cover in real depth, because I feel like we've done depth with macros and kcals and all that, should be training.
Are we going to start with your joke?
No.
Oh, come on.
No, do that. So in the first shooting of part 3, I basically set Leanne up with this incredible joke about this miracle drug called weight training. But because, as I say, Leanne kept burping on the audio and we had to ditch it, so I can't do it this time. My question to you is, why do people still have such a fear of weight training?
Hands down, it is intimidation and lack of knowledge. So, for example, my personal training business has flourished on that fact because I have created strategies and classes and group training specifically designed for women in particular to learn the basics of weight training, because they are so intimidated by the thought of picking up a pair of dumbbells or a barbell or using a bit of kit in the gym, because they have no clue how to do it and no real knowledge about why it is beneficial. I think it's so safe to walk in a gym and get on the cross trainer, press quick start, level up and stay there for 30 minutes.
Yeah, that's what my friend in America calls renting equipment to sweat on.
Yeah.
And what he means by that, obviously say tons of budget chains, etc. And he says no information, no support. He says those members are just renting equipment to sweat on. There's no outcome to it.
Yeah, and I think they just don't know, or they're just so worried. Generally, what I get told is, people are going to look at me, I don't know how to use the kit, I feel stupid, I'm going to do it wrong, I'm going to hurt myself, I don't want to get too bulky, all this fear based around weight training, in women I see in particular. In the male side of things, I think it's because they weight train, they come in, they do their basic splits and they don't see results, and that's because they're not following a specific program that includes progressions and stuff. I think from my experience, it's complete fear and lack of knowledge on how to do it and not getting results. So let's maybe take that back right to the start then. So weight training, lifting weights, resistance training is the number one most efficient way to recomp your body, lose fat, lose weight, whatever it is. There's no dispute on that, No. So if somebody wants to go on PubMed and check out all the studies, they can find tons and tons of research that shows
that resistance training, weight training lowers your BMI. Resistance training will promote the hormones that keep you younger for longer. It will reduce your risk of injury. It will improve your mental health. It will improve your performance in academic tests. It will improve insulin sensitivity, which means that when you do eat carbohydrates, you have a far greater chance of them being stored in the liver and the muscle tissue as glycogen, as opposed to being stored as fat, okay? So what we call insulin resistance, which typically happens when people do not have any resistance training. That it is undisputable, okay, that weight training is the number one requirement. It's a wonder drug, and yet people still don't do it. So I think the best thing that we can do in the next 5 minutes is try to uncover why they don't do it, and then reassure them about it's actually not that bad.
No.
You're saying there's a fear of coming to the gym, I think is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Then if they do come to the gym, there's a fear of, I don't really know what I'm doing, so I might look silly or I might hurt myself. And then if they overcome the first two, then maybe what they do, and if I think back to sort of when I started, I always remember people would try and use the machines that looked easiest.
Yes.
So like leg extensions and chest press.
All the fixed weight machines,
looked easiest, which is fine to a degree, but it's not really gonna, it's like when people just say to me, oh, I tried the gym, it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I say, well, what did you do? Oh, I went on the treadmill for 10 minutes, did a few of these. Well, it wasn't the gym that didn't work. It was the program that didn't work. Okay, so women maybe are scared that they're going to get big lifting weights.
Yes.
Yeah? Not going to happen.
So I quite often get asked, like, oh, I want to tone up, but I don't want to get too big. And essentially what I try to explain is that there's no such thing as getting too big, because as females, we just do not produce enough testosterone for that to happen.
Men to get too big,
You'd have to be eating a phenomenal amount of food to make those sort of gains. And the people you're probably referring to are the people that you've probably seen on social media who are either elite bodybuilders and completely train and strip down to look like they do on their social media for a day, and they do not look like that all the time. And there might be some
filters, and there might be some assistance.
Yeah, or they're pharmaceutically enhanced.
Never.
That's the polite way of saying it. So that is just a factor that you have to completely eliminate. That is not going to happen.
Yep.
Also, I then try and educate them on the fact that this idea of toning muscle is basically building muscle and losing fat. You're basically asking me to show you how I can make you see the muscles on your body. And there's only one way to do that, and that's weight train to build and stimulate your lean muscle tissue, and be in a calorie deficit to drop the body fat.
Sure. So if we use the phrase ever decreasing circle, so I think you said in maybe episode 1 or 2 about, people are going to be training 4 hours a day with this type of approach. So if, say, people were just to adopt a very restrictive calorie diet, and I think that's the way to continually lose weight, then what you get to is a place with an ever-decreasing circle. For people to sustain a body composition and a health long-term, what they need to do is to increase their metabolic rate. Aging is actually trying to decrease it, because with age, we're losing lean tissue, and our hormones are starting to decline. Maybe from age 35 or somewhere around there, 30, 35, something like that.
Years,
different for everyone. Wait till you get to 45. Different for everyone. Okay, and there are certain things you can do which offset that. The number one being resistance training. And to go back to what we said right at the start of the show, it's even more important now because our lifestyles have so little resistance and they have so little manual activity. 100 years ago, or maybe longer, you think about someone just doing the washing. The washing was very manual. You think about people were growing their own vegetables in their gardens. People were lighting fires and chopping.
People were walking everywhere.
So there was a lot more movement, but there was a lot more resistance. And it's that resistance. I mean, you can even take this as far as saying things like osteoporosis. When you don't have stress on bones, you don't have stress on joints and muscles, the risk of injury and problems just goes through the roof. So aside from weight training being the key to avoiding the ever-decreasing circle and literally ended up living at a place where you can only eat 500 calories a day without gaining weight, which is hell, it's also an anti-aging, a mental health, it's everything. It's kind of the wonder drug. If you could put it in a pill form, everyone would take it. But people are scared to come to the gym. When they come to the gym, they're scared to try things. And then if they do that, maybe they don't do the right thing. Okay.
100%.
So let's maybe move into what they should do when they come to the gym. So what we're going to advise people to do now, bearing in mind they'd be supported by a trainer, so they would definitely not be on their own.
Yeah.
They'd be with Tiff or be with Michi or whoever. So if anyone's watching this thinking, I don't know what to do, we're not a place where people just walk in the door and left to their own devices. You're looked after here.
Yeah, and just to reiterate that, like, I come from a place where I didn't have a great experience at a leisure centre rather than a gym like this. So, you know, when I was younger and I was looking for help, I joined a leisure centre and I went into the gym, and the gym was probably smaller than this room here.
Sure.
And I was given an induction where I was told, you press quick start and this is how you go up levels and this is how you go down. I was never shown how to use the weight equipment, and I know that I felt like, oh, no one showed me how to use that, so I better not touch it.
Sure.
So if someone's coming off the back of an experience like that, which happens a lot, I hear about it a lot and I see it a lot, you know, walking into this environment where, you know, everyone knows what they're doing, because that's how we coach people here.
Sure.
We make sure they know how to use the equipment and they are confident in doing it. Then you probably are going to be like, oh my goodness, I don't know what to do. I'm just going to stick with my leisure centre cross trainer for 20 minutes. But like you say, here we have a strategic plan for every member. They have their induction. They are specifically given a trainer who will show them how to use the kit, give them a program that will include all the kit and make sure that they know how to do that independently. And even if they come in week 3, week 4, and they're still not confident, there will always be someone here to show them that and help them and demonstrate whatever they need. That's what I love about this gym, and you know, is our saving grace for people like that.
The analogy I always use, so when people would join the gym and they say, well, I tried the gym thing, it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I would say to them, what did you do? And I say, well, when you go to the dentist, do you just ask to borrow his equipment? And they look at me like I'm mad. And I say, well, do you do your own fillings? And then I'd say, when you go to the garage, you just say to the mechanic, can I just borrow your jack a minute? They'd look at me like I'm mad. And I'd say, well, it's the same principle here.
Yeah.
All of this stuff can be very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. So it's our job to kind of provide you with that service.
100%.
So in terms of what sort of thing, if we just basically said it's going to be predominantly resistance-based, there's going to be some mobility work, there's going to be some cardio, it's going to be progressive. So again, I'd like to talk to the people that think, well, I'm just not fit, I'm 25 stone. It's going to be pitched at a level that's right for you, but it is largely going to be about lifting weights safely in particular rep ranges that promote say the growth and the stimulation of lean tissue. I'd also now like to sort of transition a little bit, and again, we can, if people are interested, if they pop a comment up, we can pop up 10 programs that
100%.
show you exactly what you do you know, anytime. We now need to shift a little bit into what's not effective and efficient exercise. And I want to make sure that we don't piss people off here by saying, so for example, I do a ton of yoga and flow, ton of it. Is it effective for fat loss? No, it's a waste of time. I do tons of Pilates. Is it effective for weight loss? No, it's a waste of time. Jogging is a very therapeutic, it's great fun. Is it effective for weight loss? No, it's a waste of time. Cycling, I do a lot of cycling. Is cycling effective and efficient for weight loss? No, it's a complete waste of time. So I've just alienated about 1,000 people or more. Does that mean you shouldn't do those activities? Absolutely not. Things like jogging and cycling, in my experience, provide almost like a kind of cleansing. People are almost sorting through their thoughts. Great activity. Yoga, do it literally every day. Every day, okay? Playing ball sports, basketball, whatever it is. Great activity, no problem at all. However, those things do not tick the physiological triggers that you need. If you're coming to me and saying, I can't lose weight, I'm really unhappy, and you haven't lifted weights and performed interval-based cardio, then you haven't done the right things. I would ask people to give us 3 workouts a week for a period of 21 to 28 days. And if at that point nothing's changed, well, then you can tell me it didn't work for you. Until then, if you're telling me, I'll tell you another one we used to get, I go swimming. So I say, oh, great, swimming's mega. I mean, I'm terrible. So my daughter's, you know, at county level, but I'm a terrible swimmer. So I find
I'm not a great swimmer.
You watch your daughter doing butterfly and breaststroke and stuff, and it shows up. So I'd say, oh, what do you do? You know, do you do intervals? How many lengths do you do? No, I just sort of do 20 minutes. Okay. I mean, come on. I mean, are we going to lose weight splashing around in a bath? I mean, it's not going to work, is it? It's as simple as that. We have to be realistic at this point.
My stance on what you're saying is I totally agree with what you're saying, science-based, and we are here talking about sustainable weight loss, you know, implementing habits into your workout regime that are gonna make you lose weight and keep the weight off. That's essentially what we're saying. I do 100% agree with the science that weight training is the number one thing, and I would always prescribe that to my clients. But like you said, I am also all for the more you move, the more calories you burn. It improves your mental health. It improves your physical health.
Yep.
And that's why I do everything. Do you know what 100%. I mean? I love walking. I do yoga the same as you. I teach 5 Zumbas a week, and I friggin' love Zumba. Yep. And so do a lot of women. And all those things, I think they're still great tools to have in your arsenal. But yeah, the main priority, if the goal is sustainable weight loss, is to learn movement patterns with weights that will build your basal metabolic rate and make you burn more calories throughout the day, which is the number one equation for sustainable weight loss.
Yeah, I mean, I love all those other things. Yeah. But I've got to be true to facts and science here. Some of those activities promote an increase in cortisol. Mm-hmm. Okay. If you increase cortisol, you're limiting your chances of losing body fat. Some people will say, well, I can do ridiculous, long duration cardio and I'm not fat. That's fine. They've probably got a lot of muscle tissue. Yeah. Okay. So they can get away with it. If someone's joining the gym and say, I'm really struggling to lose weight, but I do a ton of long jogs on a Sunday morning, doesn't seem to be getting anywhere. And I take my carb drink with me, which has got 200 grams of sugar in it, probably more than you need for the entire week. Yeah. Then, I think you can almost reach a point where people think, is he telling me not to do this? No, not at all. Do all of it. Yeah. But just remember that if you want the most effective and efficient model, that's not it. Yeah. Lifting weights is it. It's indisputable. Get on PubMed, read the science. It's never going to change. The people that have the most lean tissue, the most active lean tissue, that have the fastest metabolic rates, that stimulate EPOC, oxygen debt, whatever you want to call it, they will be the ones that have the ability to eat the most without gaining fat. They'll probably also be the ones that get sick the least, that don't age as fast, that don't have osteoporosis, that maybe feel better about things. Yeah. That's just a reality.
Yeah, definitely. And when I take it back to my journey, I remember when I first started at Winners, and obviously I'd come from a leisure centre and I was a fitness instructor before I was a personal trainer. I was the typical cardio queen. Yeah. John would say to me, what are you training today? I'd be like, I'm going on the stairs for 20 minutes to do intervals. And he'd like, okay, fair enough. And I remember I've been overweight at 15 stone, and at my lowest I was 8.5. God. Which, by the way, I'm 2 stone heavier now and in the best shape I've ever been in. Absolutely. I am the leanest I've ever been. 8.5 stone. I was like that.
Oh my God.
I remember my friends saying to me,
did your teeth fall out?
No, but I remember my friends like taking me to one side and saying, we're a little bit worried about you. And I was in such a bad place mentally when it came to body image. I was like, yes. Yeah. People think there's something wrong with me. I'm skinny enough now. Yeah. But I was miserable.
I'm not surprised.
But now that I am pushing for PBs, and the mental thing that weight training has done for me has taken me from that, I need to be this weight, I need to weigh this much, I need to burn this amount of calories on the bike, on the Stairmaster, because it's going to make sure that I lose weight, to coming into the gym and thinking, I want to get that squat weight, I want to get that deadlift, I want to be able to bench press that, I'm going to do 2 chins today. It totally flips your mindset into such a better positive space, and it's really actually empowering, and I love seeing my clients go from giving a shit about how much they weigh to giving a shit about how much they can push and pull and lift. And
I think you're making a really big point here that I might have missed. It should be really good fun. Yeah. How much fun is it to do 45 minutes on the cross trainer? Mind numbing. You ain't getting me doing that. It's boring. People are not going to keep coming to the gym to do 45 minutes. If people join a gym with no advice and they don't know what they're doing, they typically go into the gym, get on the cross trainer, exactly what you say. It's boring, it produces no results, so they don't stick at it. Yeah. Okay? We, when lockdown started, me and you filmed Get Your Mind Right, the classes in the morning. I challenge anyone that's feeling a little bit down, okay, let's not go any further than that. If anyone is feeling a bit down, when we reopen, come and do a morning workout with me, Get Your Mind Right, I'll take them outside in Newton Abbot, come and do 40 minutes. I challenge you to feel depressed, negative, lethargic at the end of the workout.
I know.
Okay, you just can't. You just can't. It is impossible to feel bad, but because your state's sometimes dictated by your physiology. At the end of those 45 minutes, I bet you feel better.
Yeah,
I bet you're nicer to your husband or wife. I bet you're more positive at work. I bet you think more positive thoughts. So I would really encourage people to not only think about, okay, well, Simon's banging on about this scientific answer to fat loss. You'll just feel better. You'll just be happier, which is going to be our next section, really.
And stronger, like, chins. They were, I would just hang off the bar like a dead fish. Like, I wouldn't be able to, like, do anything. And then when you get a chin, it's like a miracle has happened to you. It's like, oh my God, I am such a badass. And I just love it. It's so cool. Yeah. Even, you know, when you're training people and you push them and they achieve things, they are buzzing for weeks and they don't care about even getting on the scales when they come in here. They just care about, let's get these chins, let's get this squat, let's do this glute workout,
and all of a sudden the reason that they really joined, which was I want to lose some weight, is happening without them even thinking about it, because they're kind of following some science and they should be having a really good time. Have we given the viewers enough information on training? Yeah, do you think that gives them a place to start?
If you were a beginner, where would you start?
Okay, this is where it gets really difficult for me, being OCD. And when people say, where would I start? I would ask 10 questions about, you know, are they kyphotic? Do they have anterior pelvic tilt? What's their background? All this stuff. But where would I start? With a real beginner and someone that's really heavy, I'm just going to do things that are completely safe. So, for example, they might come in and they might do a football squat. They might do a wall push-up. You know, these are people say we're talking 25, 30 stone. I'd be looking to do things that were always within their safe rate of perceived exertion. Okay. Sometimes as well, like I say, there might be pretty significant postural issues, which mean that anything overhead or any squat would be completely contraindicated. We just wouldn't be able to do it. So we might have to do some things that fix that. But pretty much everyone can push a prowler. Pretty much everyone can do a farmer's walk. Pretty much everyone can do a pull down. Pretty much everyone can do a chest press. So it's probably going to be something around there. They would also have some form of mobility, which would largely be about glute activation and fixing the kyphosis, so the rounding of the shoulders, because 95% of people have problems with kyphosis and their anterior pelvic tilt from being sat down all day. When your anterior pelvic tilt, this is one of the reasons why so many women now are blowing ACLs, and people think, well, I won't blow ACLs. Most women have some form of anterior pelvic tilt. That means that they can never fully activate the glutes. So when they perform things like squats in the gym, you see their quads blow up and their asses stay very blamongy, and they always wonder, why can't I get my hamstrings and my glutes up? Well, there are a number of reasons for that. Anterior pelvic tilt, as well as congenitally, they do not activate as quickly. That's a complete geek off. So that needs to be a lot more work activation on female glutes and hamstrings to bring it up. They develop all this power in their quads. They then go to change direction one day and they have no stability from the glute. Pop goes the ACL. Very, very, very common. Okay, so we do some glute activation. We might do some work to try and correct the kyphosis. That'd be right at the beginning. We would get into some safe ranges, maybe between 8 and 12 for that real beginner, on some safe movements. We'd make sure their rate of perceived exertion initially never went over number 7, so they would never be completely out of breath. This is presuming there are no blood pressure issues, of course. That's another thing we have to check, that we check their blood pressure when they come. And then every time they came, we would try and progress it. Okay, if somebody was a bit more advanced, maybe they'd done a bit of activity and they were just a little bit overweight, then there'd be much more intensity. And if they didn't have any of the kind of postural issues, then we would look to get the big things in a lot quicker. So, for example, we'd be looking to teach trap bar deadlifts, we'd be looking to teach bench. Overhead's always a bit controversial, won't get into that. We'd be looking to work on chins, etc., etc. But I don't want to be vague with my answer, but it's so dependent upon the person.
Of course.
That I don't really want to sort of give general advice, if that makes sense. Have we answered the training okay?
I think so.
We haven't told people to not do things, have we?
No. So any form of activity is great. 100%. However, weight training,
hiking,
is
kayaking, do it. But it's not the most effective and efficient. And as you age, your requirement for weight training only goes up. This is another thing. People think, I should stop lifting. I don't intend to stop lifting ever. Okay? As you get older, all of the things that are changing hormonally need the stimulus of lifting weights. Otherwise, you're going to age much quicker.
What about just touching quickly on cardio in the gym and what is more effective for sustainable fat loss? So rather than somebody sitting on the cross trainer for 20 minutes, they're much more beneficial to push the prowler in a HIIT kind of workout, aren't they?
So without going mega sciencey, go back to what we're looking. Look, what are we trying to trigger? We're trying to trigger. Am I stimulating lean tissue growth? Am I activating lean tissue? Am I stimulating EPOC? Post-exercise oxygen consumption or oxygen debt, which is basically a principle where for a period after the workout, which science tells us is between 2 and 24 hours. Why is there such a big range? If I've got more muscle mass, my EPOC period goes on for longer. If I've got less muscle mass, it's shorter. Another reason to have more muscle mass. I want to stimulate EPOC. Any type of interval, or if me and Barney want to race on, say, a few 500s on the ergo, because I'm sure I'd smash him.
Still fighting for that row, Barney. Still fighting for the row.
Listen, I think Barney's 20 years younger than me, and I think I can take him. All right.
He just wants to prove himself.
I think I can take him. I think I'm 17th in GB at the minute without trying. So I think.
How do you even know that?
Because it's on the Concept 2.
You are registering it, aren't you?
I registered it. Yeah.
Well, what's the dream? Top 10.
There isn't one. I'm going back to sprinting. I was just saying to Evans, I'm going to. I've got these physical things that I might go and play American football again, which at 45 would be pretty unheard of. But I did it at 42, and I was pretty good.
Have bad knees, man.
Nah, knees are fine. Knees are fine. It just depends how many concussions I can take. That's probably the decision. Anyway, enough about my American football. Anything that stimulates EPOC. Okay, that's what they should be doing. What the qualifier has to be safety. If somebody has got high blood pressure and is vastly overweight, then I can't put them on high intensity interval training because it's too dangerous. So they probably just have to perform general conditioning. And what I would do with that person is I get them to perform that outside of the gym. So I'd ask them 3 hours a week, 1 hour on 3 days in the gym, which would be predominantly based on lifting weights. And then I would say to them, can you perform 3 workouts for me? I think we've said this before. Is there a hill near your house? Can you walk a bit if you have children? Can you push it? How many times can you do it in 30 minutes? That type of stuff. If they were safe, the intensity of the cardio should be as high as possible. Okay. So, I mean, me and Michael often do like assault bikes. Like max effort 30 seconds. We'll do some tempos and stuff like that. And I'll always beat him. I remember when you gave me once on my programme, it was something like 16 rounds on the bike. I remember John was like, "Oh, I'll come do it as my warm-up," and he was like, we were dying. So I would say that generally the intensity of the cardio, I mean, people know about Tabata, 20 seconds on, etc.
Or Tabitha, as my girls keep calling it.
They're very sound principles. But remember, the danger of talking about that is that it might put off people. Oh my God, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sweat that much. So let's just be clear. You wouldn't do that at day one. You wouldn't perform much cardio here at day one. We'd encourage you to do it away from the gym. And we'd use your hour that you committed here to lift weights.
Managing your time effectively for best results.
Have we done that properly?
Yes.
Cool. I want to talk about questions and internal language next.
Yes, cool.
Cool with you?
Yes.
Okay, this might come across as a little bit fluffy. Back to part 1, which is very fluffy. But I think it's very important, and I just want to explain what it means, why I think it's relevant, how it kind of fits into the bigger picture. So I think this is the thing that when I work with an athlete, I feel pretty good about myself with, that I can get them to ask better questions. What does that mean? So a former client of mine, Graham Chilvers, very intelligent man, still a member in Torquay today, inventor of the PIR. It's on YouTube. Go and check it out. 1980 tomorrow as well. Got a terrible jumper on. Okay. Well, he actually gave a presentation in the Torquay gym, and I think about 2003 or 4. The presentation was all about ask a better question. The principle being that people talk to themselves, sometimes quite negatively, and say things like, why does it always happen to me? What's going to go wrong today? And when you ask those questions of yourself, you generally produce pretty negative responses. Okay. So when we were talking in parts 1 and 2 about, look, we really need to help people to find their purpose. Once they've got a strong purpose, that will kind of affect everything else they do. They become more motivated. They might not reach out for comfort food, etc. We've got to try and give people a little bit of support with how do I find that purpose, Simon? You keep banging on about it, but how do I find it? So I'm going to give people a few of these very, very simple questions. Where did I get these questions from? There's some very good audio by your friend Anthony Robbins, okay?
Love him.
Which you could probably buy for about £2 now. It's that old. It's I think it's tapes. That's how old it is.
Well, I think you can get him on Audible now, on audiobook,
Showing my age, aren't I?
Yeah.
So the audio
was called... apps for that sort of thing now.
It was called... I'm not very good with that stuff. It's called Awaken the Giant Within.
Yes.
It's about 3/4 of the way through the audio, and it's something called his Neuro-Associative Conditioning. I've done this with so many of the staff here over the last 20 years.
I've got the book in my office.
Yeah, where we sit down and actually do it. Some people find Anthony Robbins very cringy, very American, a bit whoopy.
Yeah, he is, isn't he? He's
Absolutely.
like, woo, yeah.
There's a documentary on Netflix which is like mega whoopy. But I would encourage people just to cut through all that and treat it like a supermarket. Could this help me? He basically has this 5 or 6 questions that he encourages people to ask themselves on a pretty frequent basis.
Yeah.
They're where I have kind of formed this from, and I've amended it. And then I'll give an example of maybe where I've done it with somebody and we've seen some results. This is not therapy. If people are in a really bad place, they should get a therapist, 100%. They should kick their doctor's door down. If they're watching this and they're in that type of bad place, kick your doctor's door down until you get a referral to an expert. Do not wait another day, okay? It's too important. This is not therapy. This is just trying to plant better seeds in the garden of your mind. That's all it is. Simple as that. It's a way of trying to improve your internal language so that you feel a little bit better every day, and that maybe you start to think about the things you really want, as opposed to Bob Hotpants 49 on Twitter who said someone's hair extensions look shit. Okay? I don't think there's any value in that. Yeah. So these kind of 6 questions are very, very simple, and they go something like this. Question 1, what do you really want?
Good one. No one knows, actually.
This is what's so amazing. When you ask people that and they go, what do I really want? And they go, next,
no one knows.
Next. Okay. What do you really want? Okay. Number 2, why do you really want it? People go, Question 3 is, if you're able to achieve that, what's the gain for you? Question 4, if you're not able to achieve that, what's the cost for you? What are you going to miss out on? He then has some other questions. I always add a couple in. We talked in part 1 about how, for some reason, people are more motivated when the goals are about other people.
Yeah.
I then have made my questions 5 and 6 about who are the 3 most important people in your life and how will the achievement of this goal positively impact them? Who are the 3 most important people in your life? How will it, if you fail to complete this goal, negatively impact them? Okay?
Powerful stuff.
Yeah, that's a bit leveragey again.
Yeah.
It might be a bit naughty, but that's something I've seen work quite well. And then what he calls his ecology check. His ecology check means if I say, it's my goal to be head strength and conditioning coach for the New England Patriots. Okay? Yes. So that means I've got to move away from my family, move away from work. So all of my other really important, the most important goals in my life get completely trashed because I'm pursuing something with a Patriot.
Yeah.
So my ecology is completely off. Scrap it, okay? And his final question is take action. So he encourages people to never leave kind of the site of a decision without doing something.
Yeah.
So in this day and age, people might watch this podcast and they might text Paul or text Thatch or text Doolin.
Yeah.
That might be it, which is what we're going to encourage them to do in a minute. Okay? Take action. So those questions basically form some internal language that I would encourage people on a daily basis when they're sat on the toilet or when they're in bed and they've turned off all their trash TV, right? Rather than wasting time on Instagram and Facebook, unless they're following our pages. Right? Maybe they should just write these things on their phone. Maybe when they go for coffee with their friends, maybe they should just try bouncing it back to each other.
Yep.
One of the things I've found is that people don't like asking it because they don't have the answers.
Yeah.
And not having the answers makes them feel a little bit like they're a failure. I don't really know what I want. It's cool. Sometimes it can happen immediately.
Yeah.
And you can see a light bulb go off and people change immediately. Sometimes it takes a lot more work. I think, in our role as sort of coaches, trying to get people to just ask better questions of themselves, to talk to themselves a bit nicer, can have such a profound effect.
Yeah.
How do you talk to yourself? You've been hanging around with me a while now, so.
Much better than I did.
How did you used to talk to yourself?
Oh, terrible. When my girls, for example, this week they've obviously all started, so they all had to send their pictures to me. And the things they say, it reminds me of me back when I was at the beginning of my journey. I'm disgusting, I am ashamed, I'm worthless, I can't believe I've let myself get to this point. I feel sick at the sight of myself, stuff like that. And it breaks my heart when people send that. And I'm just terrible. I have to try and say to them, look, flip it on its head, okay? You're not happy right now, but imagine how happy you're going to be in 8 weeks when you're consistent with this, or, use this as your motivation. That when you wake up in 3 days' time and you think, I can't be bothered to train, take yourself back to this point and how you felt, and use that as a driving force for getting that workout, for tracking those calories and stuff like that. But for me, it's much better because I know I have to put myself up there and be more positive, because it reflects on these people that are following me.
Yeah, can I ask you a question here actually about you?
Yeah.
So in your role now, where you're advising and supporting and mentoring, and this is going to come on to your training needs analysis that we were talking about, some things that you're going to have to study, because I think this is your calling. How well skilled do you feel in that position to deal with? So for example, if a footballer says to me, oh, I'm struggling, I'm this, I'm that, I kind of know some of the things I'd say to him.
Yeah.
How do you feel? Do you feel pretty well skilled in that, or is there a gap?
I think there is a gap, and I think it is something I would like to do more research on. I think I'm just trying to offer them strategies that have worked for me, and that through my experience I can say, look, I did this and this helped, but I don't have the broad answer and knowledge to be qualified enough to really get into the psychology of someone, which I think is an area that as I'm working more and more with women that have these emotional issues with their weight, their body image, their internal language and food, I think it's important that maybe, I do feel that gap in the psychology of...
100%.
Yeah.
See, I think as we've gone through this 3 parts now, I think you probably really enjoyed doing this.
Yeah.
And I think what shines through is how passionate you are about it. I said to you, I think that your pain will become your strength.
Yeah.
I think that's very common. Often in other professions, you find that people are doing it because they've had some pain.
Yeah.
So we sort of have spoken off camera about, your calling and your future.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I thought about this section is I thought, I think Leanne might have what I call a TNA, training needs analysis.
Yeah.
Not that you can't do it now, but you could do more of it and get better at it.
Yeah.
Because my guess is when people put trust in you and they're working with you, and this is relevant for any of our trainers here, what you say to them might have a little bit more power than what some other people say to them.
Yeah.
And it's all very well for me to turn around and to say to Iron Mike when he says to me, this footballer's doing my head in, and I say, what do you want to do, quit? Your softs, etc., etc. Exactly. Or, if it's another different person who said to me, my manager's told me I'm no good, I might turn around and say, well, listen, might be a bit more calming. So,
and I'm relatable, I think. That's my power.
Yeah.
That
far more
part,
than me. Yeah.
That part of my life was hard, but now where I'm at in terms of my internal dialogue, I'm sort of grateful for that it happened that way, because so many women now gravitate towards me because they see me doing 100 kilo trap bar deadlift, and then they say, I can do that because I was them 5-10 years ago.
That's a great power to have. Yeah. The relatability is key. Yeah, the other thing I would say as I'm talking about these kind of internal language, and it can sound a bit fluffy, sometimes people like Anthony Robbins or whatever, they can come across as they're always happy, they always have a good day. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
Everyone occasionally will talk to themselves negatively, have a bad day. Why is this happening to me? Why has the copper stopped me? I'm late for work, blah, 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 blah.
That's one of them days.
Yeah, it's one of them days.
Yeah.
So I don't want to create the illusion that, oh my God, all of a sudden you're going to be bouncing around being the most positive person. But I think if you can get into the habit of asking yourself better questions, I think it can produce long-term effects. I mentioned in the unedited version about bliss. So when we have Kev on the podcast, any Talk United fans will know that in the Great Escape 15-16, we signed a player called Nathan Blissett, who we'd been after for a while, but didn't have any money. Bliss has referred to this in another podcast, so I can talk about it without breaking any client confidentiality, etc. He referred to it in a grassroots football podcast. Bliss had a bit of a downtime. He'd been a superstar and he was just he was thinking of maybe football wasn't for him. He was only very young, 24, 25, whatever it was. I'd said to Kev, just get him in front of me. Just get him here to see me. And just let me talk to him. Tell him I think I can help him. The questions and the discussion that me and Bliss had was that. I didn't sit there and say, what do you want? And read it like Anthony Robbins. I sat there and said, I think I can help you. Let's just talk for an hour. And we had a very informal discussion about why I think he should come and sign for Torquay and about what he wanted out of his career, what his strengths were, etc., etc. I won't go any further than that because it would be sort of, like I say, breaking our confidentiality. But he left. I always say this to him. He's 6'4", Bliss, athletic freak. I say, you were 5'7" when you came into my office and you were 7'2" when you left. because he just cleared a bit of fog.
Yeah.
That phrase we'd use, you just realise, okay, I get it. Yeah, I've cleared some fog. Maybe I know kind of what I want. He signed for Torquay. He kept us. It was a team effort, obviously, but he was a big part of what kept that team alive. He actually re-signed for us and made us a little bit of money as well. So I would encourage people to try to plant better seeds.
Yes.
I'm going to post up some links for the Awaken the Giant within a few other bits. If you find him incredibly cringy and American, maybe just suck it up and just kind of try and get to the meat of it.
I saw he posted on his social media the other day about focused attention, which is something that I've been learning about this year.
Yeah.
Because, again, I work with a lot of people that suffer with anxiety. It's something that I've suffered with myself. But he was basically saying that what you focus on, you get more of.
Sure.
And that in today's society, we are very focused on the bad stuff that happens in our day and our lives and stuff. And it just becomes this like snowball effect, and you're focusing on it, and then it grows and grows and grows and grows.
You will not see any yellow cars on the way home. You'll not see any yellow cars.
Yeah.
You'll see a yellow car.
Or like when you buy a car and then everyone's got the same car as you, stuff like that. But he was saying about trying to actively shift your mindset to focus on something else. So shifting your attention from whatever's negative that's happened in your day to something positive. And that's something I've implemented in my challenge, is I get the girls to write and share their 3 wins of the day.
Great idea.
Because it's just promoting a positive outlook. Like, okay, maybe you didn't hit your calories today, but you will tomorrow, but you've learned from something from that experience, and that's one of your wins today.
Yep.
And that's just focusing your attention, and then that becomes the snowball, and it gets bigger and better until, they reach the end of the 8 weeks and they're just doing it without even thinking about it. Yeah,
he basically says you get what you focus on.
Yeah.
And then he does these sort of, like I say, in his seminars, he'll do this thing where he says, I want you to look around the room and see everything that's not brown, see everything that's not brown, see everything that's not brown. How many brown things did you see? Okay, and he just uses it as an example to people that you get what you focus on. So yeah, he's kind of very big on that. I would also encourage people, there's so much free stuff on YouTube now where you could literally start your day every day with 10 minutes of this American freak screaming at you. Do you know what I mean? And it might have some positive benefits. Okay, so have we given people enough of an idea about Ask a Better Question?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so on my agenda, I have one more big thing to finish on, which is the big picture. So maybe anything you want to cover, do it now.
So I have just written some things to bear in mind when it comes to sustainable weight loss. A lot of people often don't register rest, recovery, or sleep as an important factor when it comes to getting results. But really, what tends to happen is you train really hard in the gym, and the magic sort of happens while you're recovering, and that is done via restoration, which I don't think a lot of people know about, and active recovery, and also sleep. And I know sleep becomes a massive subject that we talk about in my 8-week challenge, because a lot of them are mums with small kids, so 7 or 8 hours of sleep a night is non-existent. So I have to try and implement other methods to try and get them to recover. So I promote the walk-in, restorative cardio to try and promote recovery. Meditation I'm quite big on, I quite like that. Guided meditation, particularly for those who suffer with anxiety, and stuff like that, to try and reduce their cortisol levels and promote recovery. Because at the end of the day, the sooner you recover, the sooner your body recovers, the faster you can smash another workout, and you're going to continue to get results. So. Yeah,
I think the sleep's probably a bit of a bigger thing than people realise.
Yeah, 100%.
What do you think why do people not sleep as well? Why don't they sleep as well?
I think people can't switch their brains off because they are so obsessed and habitually drawn to social media when they go to bed.
Yeah. They don't wear the blue light blocking glasses like Johnny's got.
Yeah, TV, the stress of work, family life, if you've got little kids, stuff like that. People don't go to bed early. They,
Yeah, I think if we say to people, sleep's really important, you should go to bed early, they'll take zero notice.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think that's going to change. I think what we've probably got to do is give them a bit more of compelling reason why they should. What I try to coach people to do is have a process to get them to sleep.
Yeah.
Okay, so almost like an unwinding, and having had 3 children, when you have young children and stuff, it's not always as easy as it sounds. Whether you're driving them to swimming and picking them up at 9:30, or whether your baby's crying at 2 a.m. and needs a bottle, etc. It's not as easy as that. So don't want to come across as, you should just go to sleep. There are physiological and psychological things that happen whilst you're asleep. If you miss those windows, you will struggle.
Yeah.
So you're going to go through a process of rapid eye movement, and then you're going to go through your deep orthodox. And there should also be cortisol spikes. Okay, there should be a lot of recovery that happens. There is a theory about REM perhaps being where your mind sorts through its, I think that things and kind of files things away, and then the deep orthodox being a bit more physiological. Not 100% sure that's true.
Yeah.
But if you miss them, then I think you're in trouble.
Yeah.
If you said to me, what do I think impacts sleep? What affects sleep? Eating sugar late at night.
Yep.
How many people do we know eat sugar late? Yeah, okay. Which is why sometimes we have to account for that in what we give them for dinner, and then the post-dinner snack.
Yeah.
We have to start actually legislating for it and plan it. So I think I said about the berries and the pumpkin seeds.
Yeah.
So that's not as nice as a Boost or whatever
dairy
these
milk.
people want, dairy milk or whatever. But maybe they can get away with it. I'll tell you another one I've done is fizzy water with lemon and lime.
Nice.
Rather than people having Diet Coke.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not as nice, I understand that, but maybe it just gets them over the edge.
Yeah.
When people start to see a result from it, I feel so much better in the morning, I've got this sugar hangover. Having sugar late at night will negatively impact your production of growth hormones, IGF-1s.
Yeah.
Scientific fact. If you wanted to sleep better and recover better, try not to eat 2 to 3 hours before you go to bed.
Yeah.
And definitely do not eat high sugar foods before you go to bed. Simple as that. I think you make a massive, huge point about, I'm sure mobile phones now, most people are on them in bed.
Yeah.
Very easy to do.
Yeah. My husband plays Candy Crush 20 minutes before he goes to sleep.
I don't want to know about you and your husband in bed, Leanne.
That's what he
going
does.
Too far.
Candy Crush. I think
there's something
it's
missing
not a
in your
euphemism
marriage.
for anything. It's literally a game.
Something missing, Leanne.
He's on like level 3020 or something like that.
There is definitely something missing in your marriage. So I think you almost have to give them a strategy. So I think, whether it be a podcast, reading, whether it be maybe having something on in the background.
Yeah.
But I've often, like you said, about taking the baby for a walk and stuff. I think people have to almost find a strategy to switch off.
Yeah.
Because I think what happens is children to bed, junk TV, biscuits.
Yeah.
And then the biscuits become the monster munch.
So for me, when I go to bed, it's almost annoying, but maybe it's a sign of genius, I don't know. But it's almost like my brain, all my best ideas come into my head.
Yep.
I think because I'm quite busy in the day trying to answer people's questions and work and stuff, I don't have time to let my brain just let loose on what it wants to achieve. So I'll lay in bed and I know I've got to go to sleep and be like, you need to do this, you need to do that. Oh, that's a really good idea. And I feel like I need a notepad. So what I do is I've got this app called Insight Timer. Ooh. And it basically has a whole chapter of sleep meditations, because I'm not someone that can just meditate on my own, because the minute you tell me to stop thinking, I think. I can't count my breath, I can't count sleep. It's just I have too many thoughts in my brain going on. It's like I can't quiet the noise.
Yep.
Whereas guided meditation for me has proven to be really good because I have somebody talking to me, telling me what to do. I'm focusing on breathe in, breathe out. I really like the total body scans where they like work from your feet up to your head and they say, right, relax your feet and then relax your calves, relax. And before I'm even at my forehead, I'm asleep.
Yeah.
So I do those most nights because they really help me to unwind.
Yeah, my guess is that at this point people are watching the podcast starting to think, stop talking all that bloody rubbish. I've got too much going on. I can't do that. I need my whatever. I think encouraging them to sleep better is really good advice.
Yeah.
My guess is that we need to get these people to that point and that they've probably got to get with some big rocks. Before we do our big finish, anything else? Because I've got loads of little things. Like I wanted to give people, give some advice for parents with overweight children. I wanted to talk about don't ever use fat burners.
I think that would be a good one based on the fact that yesterday my DMs blew up. Because there is a new product on the market that is being endorsed by all the celebrities. Have you seen this?
No.
Oh my God. It's called Skinny Jab, and it is an injection that you can buy from qualified physicians online, which contains medication for diabetics.
Great, good idea.
And people like Gemma Collins, why anyone would take weight loss advice off her, I do not know. Off Towie, she's...
Don't even know what that is.
Yeah, big girl, bless her. Kerry Katona, Katie Price.
Wasn't she a coke
addict? Katie Price, all of these famous people promoting this on...
It's got to have a girl called Katie Price.
The Katie Price.
Don't think so.
Jordan.
No.
No. Anyway, I had so many people message me. I had a teacher message me to say that they are having to address it in school because so many of the girls are talking about it, talking about buying it. It's medication to control insulin, I think, for diabetics.
Right, this isn't good.
So this is the sort of thing that we are battling against.
Yeah, sure.
And I just read it and I thought, you know, if I was 17 right now, I would 100% buy that. I would have. In that state, if I was not going to a gym like this and I didn't have the knowledge, and take myself back to being 17, I tried everything and I would have tried that because that's the type of people that I was following back then.
Yeah.
So I think maybe touching on something like supplements that you can find on Instagram would be a good thing to talk about. Okay.
I want to get to the big picture finish. So let's just quickly cover fat burners really, really quickly. Don't buy them. Complete rubbish. They will do everything that you don't want to happen. For example, they will massively suppress your appetite by shifting you into an overly sympathetic state. Sympathetic means fight, flight, or freeze, we call it now in sports. What you need is your body to be able to shift between sympathetic and parasympathetic, which we call rest and digest. Okay, when you're in this sympathetic state, you don't want to eat because you're kind of scared, for want of a better word. Your adrenaline, epinephrine, noradrenaline are through the roof. Your cortisol's through the roof, so you actually start to break down the muscle tissue that you're trying to build up. Control of those hormones, as I mentioned earlier, along with insulin, is largely what we're trying to do. To go back to asking a better question, we've just been through this COVID situation where Piers Morgan has made it his lifelong mission to scare people.
I know.
Now, you know, when you put people in a fearful state, you actually suppress their immune system, so they're more likely to get ill. But let's not get too political with stuff like that. But my point being is that control of these hormones is why we're asking people to eat a particular fuel mixture, enough calories at set times. The fat burners are just going to ruin all of that. Don't buy them. Complete crap. Absolute rubbish. Is that enough on fat burners?
Yes.
Should we get to our big finish?
Yes. The big finish. Da-da-da.
So we've done 3 parts on this. And I think it's taken us longer than we thought.
Yeah.
It is a huge topic. I really hope we've done a good job.
Yeah.
What does a good job mean? A good job means that people have got all the information they need. Plus, in the big finish, we can encourage and motivate them to take action. Because if they don't take action, nothing changes.
Exactly.
And this was a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
We're not living our mission and we're losers. All right, end of. Okay? So we need to pull this together. What should they do now? They've watched me and you gas for about 6 hours worth of footage. Yeah. I hope what they understand is why people gain weight. A little bit about how identity can become a bit of a governor and a limiting factor. A little bit about how they might start with the number of calories they eat, what macronutrients, what type of diets might be good for them. I hope they understand that. I hope we've covered today a little bit about what sort of training is optimum. Even though all these other things are great fun, they're not optimum. Yeah. What is optimum? I hope we've covered a little bit about internal language and how that might just make you feel a bit more positive and like taking action. What should they do now? If someone is watching this and think, well, what now, Simon? What now, Leanne? What do they do?
They contact somebody that works at Winners 2000.
Right, that's very salesy. Here's what I would tell people to do. Take action.
Take action.
But before this finishes, if you're sat watching this on your phone, on your laptop, whatever it is, before you move, make a text.
Yes.
All right? So we've already agreed that we're going to fire out a free ebook.
Yep.
And we're going to actually offer people when we reopen, if they're not members, a free trial period.
Yep.
So come along to the gym and just try it.
Yep.
Okay, we're going to put in the show notes about 50 contact information of people that on a daily basis are fixing weight loss, weight gain, whatever you want to call it. For example, if you message Craig in Newton Abbott, Craig Knight, great guy, plays American football, so got to be a great guy. You message him and say, hi Craig, Simon mentioned you on the podcast. I've been trying to lose weight for 3 or 4 years. Any chance I can meet you? Within 28 days, you'll feel better and you'll have lost weight. Yeah. If you message Paul in Newton Abbott, within 28 days, you'll have lost weight, you'll feel better. Thatch, Dean Evans, Meech, Tiff, Nina, Luke, whoever, Amy, Hannah. if you message them, just shoot them a message, because otherwise what you do is you get up from this episode, you go and do something else, you forget about it. Power's lost, waste of time, we've lost. Do it. Shoot the message, get the show notes, shoot the message, just say, could I come and see you? You haven't got to pay anything. It doesn't cost you nothing. You can almost prove me wrong. So if you think I'm a bit of a dick and you want to prove me wrong, come to the gym, meet one of our guys, follow the advice, and then say to me, your gym didn't work for me, Simon. Cool, no problem. But it will. Bottom line. Because as I said, I think in episode 1, body recomp is very simple. I'm not saying easy, but it is very, very simple. This is something we've been doing for 20 years. There's no magic here. There might be the odd case where there's a little bit of a hormone problem or a thyroid. They're the outliers. The majority of people are eating far too much sugar, not doing enough exercise, not doing the correct form of exercise, and have got into a bit of a malaise when they're not really focused on the right things. All of those things can change like that. Text Thatch, text Dean, text Paul, text whoever. That's my overriding advice. Any other advice on top of that? That sounded like a sales pitch. It's not. I just believe in what we do. We've been doing it for a very long time. There are thousands of people that have been through Winners 2000 that have got those exact gains just by taking action. What else should they do? Just
100% what you said, and don't fear the gym. Like when we reopen, we are going to be here with open arms to help everyone that, we recognize that this time has been difficult for a lot of people. A lot of people have probably eaten and drunk their way through lockdown, are feeling really crappy, and we know that, and we don't judge that, and we are here to help you and show you the right way to get the right results. So just come and see us, no judgment at all, the right advice, and like you said, in 28 days you'll be feeling better. So when people say to me like, oh, what should I do to lose weight? I say, get a trainer. Just get a trainer, contact a trainer. The second thing I think we should do to be responsible, which is what we said right at number 1, is that if people are vulnerable, if people are unhappy, we should be recommending that they either contact their doctor and ask for a referral to see psychiatrist, psychologist, whatever. And if they don't want to do it through the doctor, if that's a bit slow, then they should ask for help. They should, in my day, you went to the Yellow Pages, now you just go on Google. I would really encourage that. I still think there is a stigma. I still think that people think if I ask for help, that makes me weak, there's something wrong with me, I'm a nut job. It's bullshit. No,
okay,
100%.
You get your car serviced, you probably get your teeth whitened in this day and age. So if your mind doesn't feel quite right, bearing in mind that, the biggest killer of young men today is mental health. Me and you are big on this. We've got a lockdown because of COVID, and we've maybe taken our eye off the ball with some of these other things. We both know lockdowns had a pretty significant impact on a lot of people's mental health.
100%.
So I don't think it'd be responsible for us in this episode to say, listen, if you're not in the right place, ask for help. Kick your GP's door down until you get it. Do not sit there, having had some experience of this sort of stuff with some friends of mine. You don't get a second chance of this. If people ain't right, they should get some help. So I think we should add that.
100%. I see a counsellor every week. Well, when I'm allowed to. At the moment, we FaceTime every fortnight. But, I've tried many different options, and that has worked really well for me. And there are just some things you just don't get when it comes to your own mind. And these professionals can help you untangle all that and figure out strategies and ways to, move past things that are maybe still causing you pain and focus on the future. And I think it's everyone should have one, in my opinion. You all have a doctor for your physical health. So
I agree, 100%. People seem to think there's something wrong with it. Okay, so our big picture advice is maybe take action.
Definitely take action.
Take action. If they're not in the best of places to be responsible, they should really look for professional help. Like that. The other thing that I thought about, and I don't think this is quite as big, but people sometimes talk about kind of auditing your habits or auditing your personal relationship, these types of things. I think sometimes there might be some value in just looking at almost like a time and motion study that we used to do at work. I do think that the negative impact of social media, where you kind of divert your focus, I think that can drag people down.
100%.
And there's some great stuff on there as well. I get to follow all the Patriot stuff on social media. That's amazing. But I don't know anything about whatever she was called
so for me, something that I learned to do through my counsellor was to basically evaluate what I was focusing on the majority of my time, and whether it was having a positive or negative effect on my body image, my time, my business, everything. And when I went through, I was following fitness models who only ever post pictures of themselves when they're extremely lean, and they don't look like that 90% of the time.
Probably with filters.
Yeah, I was following not athletes, but like sports models who maybe are pharmaceutically enhanced. I was following reality TV stars, which a lot of people do. And when you look at that content, it just does make you feel absolute crap, because, you know, you forget things like these people have a makeup team and they have a hairdresser who gets them ready before they have these photos taken. So they have a nanny to look after their 3 kids so they can work out whenever they want. They have the money to have a trainer twice a day. They have a chef, all this stuff that you don't consider. You just consume this pointless content, and it has a detrimental effect. So I definitely think it is worth just going through and reflecting on what you are spending most of the time consuming when it comes to social media, and how it's actually really making you feel.
Yeah, one of the really interesting papers I read, actually, a friend of mine at university, his girlfriend was doing a psychology master's, and one of the things she was actually looking at was the impact on teenage girls of like social media bullying, etc. And I remember having a discussion with her up at Cardiff Met, and it was a very difficult thing for her to prove, but she was saying that the impact of the comments was greater on girls that had no direction.
Yeah.
And that, say if a girl was particularly directed with drama, she was really keen on wanting to be an actor, so she had a focus, or she was an Olympic lifter, or whatever it was, that these people reported that when someone said you look fat, they didn't really take it on board, didn't really matter. But the people that kind of were a bit foggy, those girls were the most vulnerable. And I remember having this discussion, like a penny dropping for me, saying, well, of course it is. They haven't got a purpose.
Yeah.
And I kind of projected this forward in my head and thought to myself, that just reinforces to me why it's so important for me to sit down with someone and say, so what do you really want then? I don't know, Simon. Well, think about it. What are you interested in? You know, what are you passionate about? Well, what might you want to be? Because if I can do that, then maybe when someone says, you look like shit today, you don't give it any power. I think one of my greatest gifts is that I don't hear the cheers and I don't hear the boos. I'm pretty clear on what I want to do, always have been. I know where I'm going to go over the next 20 years. So if somebody wants to say something nice or negative, it doesn't really bother me, to be totally honest.
Water off a duck's back.
Yes, but I think that only comes from a strong purpose. And as I say, chatting to this girl who was, you know, doing a master's in psychology, I remember this discussion and like a penny dropping for me, and thinking to myself, it's not so much about removing, don't use social media. It's about learning to not hear the boos, not hear the cheers. What is it I want? Right, well, I'm trying to be an actor. I've got to do this. And I wonder if, again, going back to see the populations we're talking about, people that maybe are not feeling good because of their weight, if they can get redirected on something, then maybe they're not quite as vulnerable. Yeah,
I think that's so true. Like a couple of examples for me, obviously back when I was at school, I was really, really bullied about my weight. And it was, it used to be a trigger word, even when I wasn't overweight, say in my mid-20s, if anyone even remotely said anything about my body image, it would just totally blow me up. And now at this stage of my life, I've had a couple of trolls on my social media saying, this is my favourite, that I had a fake ass. It's not fake, it's totally real.
There's a lot of programming.
I'll x-ray it if you want, but it's real. That was like my defining moment. Someone said that to me. I get called when I post a picture of my before and after pictures and I look like I've got abs in the morning. You're too skinny. God. I just think you can't win either way, but I don't care because my mission. What about
the one who wanted a picture of your feet or something, the nudes? Didn't you want a picture of your feet, some bloke or something?
Oh yeah, that was after we did a video.
Was it? It was my feet, is it? I've got my toenail cut out, so
asked me to send a picture of my feet for money. Weird.
God.
Yeah, so because my mission is clear, now I just think it's funny. Yeah. But back then when I didn't, then that would be all you would think about and be defined by. And also another example is someone who I've been working with has lost 1.5 stone and has been doing unbelievably well, but found out that someone who she worked with, which literally makes my blood boil, had taken a picture of her stood next to an ice cream van and sent it around to everyone that she works with and called her a pig. And Like
nice.
I was so seething about it. Like I was so upset. I was thinking, you know, this is the sort of thing people kill themselves over. Like, what the hell? I wanted to speak to this person. I wanted to phone them. She's like, I'm not bothered. I've lost a stone and a half. I'm not bothered. And I was like, fair play to you.
To go back a step in our conversation, you're very passionate about this.
Yeah.
And that's where some extra training might have given you more skills.
Yeah.
And you might have thought, okay, well, although I'm seething, what's the right reaction? The right reaction is to make her shrug her shoulders and say, as my great friend and business partner would say, I'm sorry you feel that way.
Yeah,
and
I was getting ready with the carving knife. No, I'm joking.
That's not the right response. Okay, so I think we've finished our big picture advice. Now, before we wrap weight loss, I wanted to say I think you've done a real good job with this.
Thank you.
I think you've done a great job. So this, I think, is something very, very personal to you. So I think people that are struggling with weight gain might be your pain in the same way that for me, children with disabilities, children in care are my pain, and they're the thing that I want to fix on a pretty big scale, and that's the next challenge for me. So has this process made you think I know we talked a little bit about this via email. Has this made you think about your career in terms of like where you might specialise anymore? Has it made you think, hang on a sec, there's only so many hours in a day. You are terrible for taking on more than you can do and then forgetting your laptop, so I've got to go home and get one, right?
I don't even need it this week.
Yeah. Has this made you think a little bit about, listen, this matters to me. I now not just want to run this, I want to specialise, and then I maybe want to help train other people to run. Has it made you think like that at all?
100%, because I think there's so many people that need help, and I'm only one woman. As
I would like to see more children getting help. If there's anything that hurts me the most, it's seeing unhappy over. I hate it. I hate it. It literally makes you want to cry.
And I think there's a massive gap. We're missing that sort of not product but service in schools and stuff, because when I was that child, I was desperate for the help and no one gave it to me. So
you're fighting against the what they call the food pyramid, which I think was 19, I can't remember what year it was, which is that awful thing that says 70% carbs at the bottom.
And oh my God, I was the turkey Twizzler generation.
But you've got the dietitian saying eat jacket potato with cheese and beans for dinner, and you wonder why kids are overweight. So
and I remember going to the doctors. I remember it got really, really bad, and I went to see my GP. I said, what do I do? Help me. What do I do?
Oh God.
And she went, here's a prescription for appetite suppressants.
That was helpful. Yeah. Let's not rag on GPs. I'll tell you for why.
Not, but I'm just saying.
I'll tell you for why. It's because it's not their specialism,
and
it isn't fair. They have a very difficult job where their waiting rooms are full of people that really should be managing their own health. And then, I had a similar conversation with my doctor when I was young. I remember him just telling me it didn't matter what I ate. I was talking about sports performance. So I don't think we should rag on them. I think you've done a great job with this.
Thank you.
I think me and you are probably going to have a serious sit down about your future, young lady. Do you know what I mean?
You're stressing me out with all this talk majorly, man.
I think your pain is your strength, and I think you could do great things with this. That's weight loss.
Boom.
What I suggested we might do, or perhaps you might do it with Barney or whoever, is I think some of the people that are in the gym who've kind of walked the journey, it might be really beneficial to have them on and talk about their experiences, that their progress was never linear, their pitfalls, and maybe that's very relatable. And then even if people aren't members of our gym, wherever in the country, they can watch that and maybe gather some strength and maybe learn some strategies and some habits. How did this lady stop eating chocolate late at night, etc. That might be something we follow up with.
Definitely.
But we're now on to the guests, aren't we?
Yes.
We did Dodge on Sunday.
We did.
That sort of went off at about 100 tangents.
That was so interesting, though. Honestly,
I'm not sure. I wonder if it's interesting for the viewers.
I think it will be for people who do sport and are interested in getting big in hench. I think it was.
Yeah, we went a bit. I had this clear plan. I got to the end of about 3 hours and I hadn't touched anything on the plan. So I think we've got to learn that when we've got guests, we've probably got to stick to the big rocks. And we're going to be into now, for example, I am Mike Block from Coombe Pafford, Rachel Hawthorne from Mayfield School, Tom Chapman. I've just lined up Tom. I've lined up a mental health speaker.
Yes.
Someone that we can come on and hopefully...
Maybe we could get my counsellor in. That would be quite cool.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Shola Amiobi from Newcastle. I am Mike's friend. Big Shola.
My granddad's favourite.
Yeah, Big Shola.
Apart from Alan Shearer.
Yeah.
Can we get Alan Shearer?
I don't know if we can get Alan Shearer. I think most Geordies would be right. I want to get Andy Carroll on. I want to get Andy Carroll on because Andy Carroll is a guy that I would love to have worked with when he was 19, because I could have avoided all his injuries.
Yeah, and he was a bit fiery, wasn't he, back in the day?
We're going to get the story. We're going to get Mike to tell the story about the physio room with Stephen Taylor. That's what we're going to get.
Oh my God, we're getting all the goss.
We're getting all the, you love the goss, don't you? Right, let's wrap.
Boom.
Okay, you did a real good job.
Thank you.
I hope for all the viewers this was of service. I hope it was useful. What I would ask is, if there are any topics that we didn't cover, please post a comment and say, what about this? If we covered something and you didn't agree with it, you didn't like it, please post a comment so that we can maybe justify our views a bit more. If you have any feedback like that, Leanne bangs on a bit.
Yeah, right. That's going to be the feedback, isn't it?
Please let us know. The intent of our podcast is to be of service.
Yes.
And if it's not doing that, then we've either got to stop doing it or we've got to improve.
Boom.
Boom.
Love it.
Good job, partner.